This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. When you go for your labs, once a year, whenever your doctor orders them, it can be very alarming if it comes back with this, and that is pre-diabetes. What exactly is that? What do you do from that point so it doesn't turn into diabetes? We're going to talk about that today and much more with somebody that helps people manage diabetes through wellness and nutrition. She is the woman behind AB Nutrition Solutions, and it's therapy, it's medical nutrition, it's all the information you need. But her niche is also helping people with diabetes. She's Abby Black, and she's back on the show with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very well. And there's been times where I was told, oh, you're pre-diabetic. And if you don't know what it is, you go into a minor panic. You're wondering, where do I go with this now? What are the chances? It's like you're walking on eggshells, worrying about the next thing you eat, that it could turn into diabetes. So let's dig into this. What exactly is pre-diabetes?
So pre-diabetes is going to be, basically there's different levels. So you have normal glucose level or blood sugar, it's called, that's synonymous, but it's called different things. And then you start getting into this realm of pre-diabetes. And what that means is if you have a normal glucose level, you're going to be under 100 fasting. So if you're not eating anything right when you wake up in the morning, your glucose level should be under 100. Pre-diabetes is in that range between 100 to 125 fasting in the morning. You technically need 2 different fasting levels to be diagnosed with prediabetes. And then kind of the next threshold is type 2 diabetes, and that's where your fasting blood glucose level is 126 or higher. Again, fasting on 2 different occasions.
So are we talking about 2 separate labs?
The labs are going to be the same in the sense that when you go and do a whole panel with, it could be a comprehensive metabolic profile or panel, it's going to be looking at your fasting glucose. So that number is going to determine where you're at. If you're considered in the normal range, if you're in the pre-diabetes range, or you're in the type 2 diabetes range, typically.
And would you have the one panel done? You have something that says, well, this could be pre-diabetes. You go for, you go for another lab, and it would just be for that particular panel, that test?
Usually another option too is to get the hemoglobin A1C check. That's a separate test. It's not going to be part of the comprehensive metabolic profile, but it's just specifically to look at your glucose. And the hemoglobin A1C is going to test over the past 3 months, all the time of where your glucose has been. So it's going to mainly be weighted more heavily on the last month, but it's also going to take into account all your numbers in the total of 3 months previously.
Gotcha. Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being bells and whistles and alarms are going off when you get that pre-diabetes, I guess, diagnosis or suggestion, whatever it is.
Yes. Yes.
Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being bells and whistles and lights should be going off. And every situation is different. Every level is different. I get that. But generally speaking, on 10 scale, where would you put that?
I put it at the highest, honestly. And the reason why I say that is because I am all about prevention whenever we can do that with nutrition, with health. And so if we can do everything possible to, if you're in the prediabetes range, and keep you from not going up to the type 2 diabetes range, that's so important. Even in the prediabetes range, you still have an increased risk for complications, which I don't think many people realize that. And so that's why like I said, I feel like it's extremely important to start working on things, making changes as quickly as you can to prevent future complications.
Wow. So what's the starting point? It's maybe you went for both labs. You are officially pre-diabetic. What do we do now?
So from there, mainly the recommendation is getting 5 to 7% body weight loss. Again, that depends on a person because not everybody is in that category where it makes sense or is beneficial for weight loss. So we have to look at that to see, okay, is that going to help this specific person to make changes in that realm? The other realm also is activity. So trying to, if you haven't been as active recently, trying to step up that activity to also help. Because when you are doing activity, whether it's taking a walk or other activities, those are going to help to actually lower your glucose level.
Hmm.
So it's the combination of nutrition and activity together that help.
It true or false? You don't have to be overweight to be pre-diabetic.
That is true. You
Hmm.
don't have to be overweight to have prediabetes. You don't have to be overweight to have type 2 diabetes or
Okay.
type 1 too, but mainly type 2 is associated with that. And I think that's also where um, there is a shortfall or challenges just because there is so much weight stigma, that there's so much that goes into that. But yes, you can have prediabetes and be at a certain weight that's not classified as something different.
Gotcha. But then again, pretty much every body mass index scale and all of that, I'm obese. If you go by those
From
scales, I'm not even
Yeah,
kidding.
so
I
so
have,
the body mass index,
but all of
yes,
those, like
not
all of
good.
those indicators, that's what,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I want to lose 20 pounds. Might not look like it, but I know the weight I want to be at and where I was, a couple of years
Mhm.
ago,
Sure.
maybe three, felt great. Just to, when you're at your ideal weight. But
Right.
if you looked at it, I would have to lose like 30 pounds before to not be on that scale of,
Hmm.
overweight and obese.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really hard because especially the body mass index, it's not really helpful or the scientific evidence behind it is not there, but it's used in everything,
Right.
unfortunately. But yeah, if somebody is more muscular and
Yes.
working out a lot, they're going to automatically be in a higher level category as far as that BMI. And that's not really accurate portrayal of where they are in their health.
Abby, I'm
With
gonna go with that. I'm muscular.
Okay,
That's what it
there you go.
is. I knew
Yes.
it.
Yep.
There's a solution and answer to everything.
Yes.
What about genetics? What kind of factor does that play in prediabetes?
Genetics is huge.
Wow.
If you have family members who have type 2 diabetes or even prediabetes, you are at an increased risk for diabetes.
Okay. Hmm. Um, would you say that if your parents have diabetes, or at least one of them, that it should really be on your radar then?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Okay.
if you know both parents have diabetes, you're at, I believe it's 80% chance or risk of developing diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Yes.
So you got the pre-diabetes diagnosis. We're gonna try and lose a little bit of weight. We're gonna become more active. What about diet?
Mhm.
Which is a horrible word,
So
by the
again,
way. I think we've talked
I
about
was
that.
just
It's
gonna
just the
say
worst.
we're not talking about that
I,
word,
I
right? I
slipped that I slipped that
thought.
four-letter word, and I didn't mean to. But yeah, it's
It's
just
okay.
not, you know,
So meal planning.
mean plan. Right. Exactly.
Where we want to go with that is I think sometimes when people hear prediabetes diagnosis, then getting scared can happen. And so all of a sudden we may go to that extreme all or nothing, where then a person takes out all the carbohydrates. And that's actually not necessary. We still need those carbohydrates to be able to provide us energy, give our brain that energy to focus. So it's more again of getting that balance. So when we are choosing carbohydrates, trying to pick more of those whole grains. So the whole wheat or even popcorn or oatmeal, those are whole grains. You could do quinoa that's going to give you good sources of fiber. And then you also have your fruits, your vegetables. So trying to choose those more often than say some of the more processed foods. So more if you're using, or excuse me, if you're getting foods that are in your meal plan from liquids, for example, and they have carbohydrates, if we can just slowly cut back on those, again, it's not avoid, but if we can cut back on those, that's going to make a big difference on your body. It's going to help keep your glucose level not going up so quickly.
It's amazing how sometimes you don't realize what you're drinking or eating can affect your health. For example, it was about 10 years ago, I was doing multiple jobs. I was in a management role at that moment and kind of burning the candle on both ends. And I just, I was always very busy. So it'd be time for lunch. I'm like, "Ah," and I've been up very early. I'm like, I don't have time. I'll have a protein bar. Yeah, that'll be good. Get a hit of protein, balanced nutrition, right?
Hmm.
Then, afternoon snack would come. I'm a little hungry. Let me grab another protein bar.
Hmm.
So then I had routine labs done, and it came back pre-diabetic and crazy triglyceride levels, like through the roof, to the point where the doctor called up while I was at work and said, "Yeah, you need to come in." I'm like, "Well, why? We need to discuss this." I'm like, "Tell me now. I'm on the phone. I just want," and they said it was like, I think I'm going by memory here, but like in the 300s. I think that's high.
Hmm.
Like it was,
Hmm.
yeah.
Correct.
And
Yes.
that's what it was from protein
Hmm.
bars, because I just figured, yeah, they're healthy. It's balanced nutrition, not the best thing, but on the run, it's got so much sugar in it, and that's where that all spiked up. But so you
Hmm.
don't know until you know. I have no idea. If I knew that, I wouldn't be eating them like that.
Right, right. Yeah. And it's not uncommon for honestly triglycerides to be high when you get either prediabetes or a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. So you're right, 150, less than 150, I should say, is kind of the normal level for
Yeah.
triglycerides. So it's definitely not uncommon for it to be in the 300s or 400s or even higher with that new diagnosis. But yeah, if you can cut back on more of the processed sugar, more of the processed foods, cutting back on alcohol, and then increasing the activity, that's all going to help the triglyceride level decrease too.
Mm. What, in your experience, this might be a challenging question to answer, but I'm very
Okay.
curious. In your experience, how often has pre-diabetes turned into type 1 or type 2? And maybe a percentage of the people that you know of, or where you've, just, and again, very broad, but just kind of get an
Mhm.
idea. What do you
Well,
think?
one thing to keep in mind, sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, really hard question.
I know.
Um, it's I've seen it go both ways. I mean, I would say this, type 1 is more autoimmune condition, so it's not that you're going to have prediabetes and turn into type 1. It's more you're going to have prediabetes and turn into having it go into type 2 diagnosis. As far as have I seen a person really, take it to heart and make changes and do everything possible to get their numbers down and have prediabetes, either stay at prediabetes or then no longer be diagnosed with prediabetes? Yes, I've had that. And then I've also had a situation, or many situations, I should say, where it has gone in from prediabetes to type 2 diabetes. I think the thing to remember is that with diabetes, it's a progressive disease. So as we get older, our pancreas isn't working as efficiently.
Hmm.
And so it's setting us up for challenges later in our life.
This is the stuff I don't want to hear. The static. I'm not
Okay,
hearing you
sorry, I
well,
won't say
Abby.
that.
It's like, yeah, I don't know what happened there. Yeah, but it's, you know, as you get older, you need to almost take more care of yourself, and maybe even make up for all those years that you ate garbage and you just, my stomach will take care of it. This is just another time. Yeah, 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 yeah. But I guess it
Right.
all adds up after time. Hmm.
It does. And you're right. I mean, I think a lot of times if you could eat anything you wanted in your 20s, 30s, whatever it may be, and then you start getting older and then our body starts not cooperating as well, it just makes it harder and more challenging, but it is still doable to make changes.
Yeah, and that's honestly, it's so much easier to walk that journey with somebody like yourself, because you walk into the grocery store, your intentions are good, but you almost don't know what to buy. You're just looking like, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I'll try this, I'll try that. Um, it can be bewildering when you're standing there, and
Very,
you want to do the right
very,
thing, right?
yes. And I think grocery stores are probably one of the very stressful locations for many people because it's so overwhelming, so overstimulating that it can almost shut down a person to the point of like, I don't know what I want, so I'm just going to grab the first thing I see and take it and buy it and be done. And that's where we can work through that together. We can figure out, okay, a meal plan. We can figure out what meals and snacks you want to have and create a grocery store list together, and just sometimes I have clients do it in sections. So just get 5 things. That's all, and then go home. Just to
Mm.
try to slowly integrate yourself back without getting so overwhelmed by the grocery store and all the marketing that exists with that.
Well, that's a great point because we just think it's there and we go in and we shop. It's all planned out. Where everything is placed
100%.
on the
Hmm.
shelf, the fact that you might go to the left to get the produce, typically that's where it is. That's all planned out. Right as the dairy. Like, there's a reason for it. It's not just it was
Yes.
convenient to put it there, and it's to encourage you to buy, uh, and
Right.
and buy the stuff that they make the most profit on. And you know,
100%. Yep.
here's I found a surprise, and I know this because I know somebody very well who's a manager at one of those big chain stores, BJ's, Costco, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. Their biggest
Hmm.
profit, and they sell a lot of different things, stuff for your house, like all. Would you believe their biggest profit is their produce? I was shocked to
Yes.
hear that. And he said, no,
Hmm.
yeah, that's why we make sure it all looks good. We take
Good.
care of it.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
people actually do buy a lot of produce in those stores. I never would have thought of, I'm going there for paper towels, big, huge
Sure.
quantities and that
Right.
kind of thing. But no, it's produce.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
want to pivot over for a moment while we're talking about diet and things, eating well.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
have some great blogs on your website, and there's one that talks about olive trees. And I was curious about olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Um, I spoke to a gentleman once in the past couple of months. He's like 87, in perfect health, and he has a spoon of olive oil, the good stuff, morning
Sure.
and another one at night. And I was like, and he goes, and he has an accent. He's like, that's the secret. I'm like, interesting. What are your thoughts on olives, olive oil, olive trees?
So, extra virgin olive oil honestly is a really good source of fat. It is monounsaturated. What that means is you're not having that saturation, and the saturation is what is increasing cholesterol levels, like your LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol.
Hmm.
So, the olive oil is going to be part of that more Mediterranean meal plan, just because it's going to be one of the better fats for you. It's going to help lower your risk of heart disease, not increase your risk with that. So that's a great option to utilize either in cooking or stir frying, baking.
Hmm.
I pretty much can use that. It's pretty, um, as far as the uses go, depending on which type you're using, it's helpful in that realm.
When he told me that he does a spoon in the morning, a spoon at night, I wondered about it, and then I looked a little bit deeper into it, and in just one tablespoon, there's roughly 120 calories, which surprised me, but also speaks volumes that that there's a lot in that one tablespoon in terms of it being very robust, and it's not just an oil. There's a lot more to it. But a spoon, 2 spoons a day, I, I got to believe it can't hurt you, right?
Right. If you're doing 2 tablespoons, for example, of olive oil a day, you do need fat every day. So that would just be part of getting to your total amount that you're consuming in a day. And that's not a problem.
While we're talking about fats, avocados. What are your thoughts
Mhm.
there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As far as avocados, that's another source of fat. So, for example, if you are having breakfast and you're having toast, you could technically put either smash the avocado and put that on your toast as a spread, or you could slice the avocado. And that way you're getting some fat from the avocado, you're getting the carbohydrates from the toast. And then if you add in some protein, for example, you could sprinkle chia seeds on it. That would give you
Hmm.
more fiber, give you more protein, and also give you fat. So it's a good balance as far as getting the 3 macronutrients of the carbohydrates, fat, and protein there.
This is why you're great at what you do, because I would never even thought of that. And chia seeds, I haven't heard
Oh,
that term used in a long time, but there was a time where I would buy stuff with it. It would
mhm.
be added to it. But yeah, certainly there's like great protein in chia seeds, and like you
Mhm.
said, the fiber and everything going in there. Um, Anything else? back to pre-diabetic. Anything that you want everybody to know that maybe we didn't hit upon today?
As far as with prediabetes, the key is really taking it seriously. I think sometimes it depends on the healthcare practitioner as far as where their level is, as far as if they just kind of brush it off and like, oh, it's no big deal, or they're like, this is serious, let's get this taken care of. So I just want to say, if you do have a prediabetes diagnosis, to seek a registered dietitian, like I said, as far as myself, or I'm also a certified diabetes educator. And with that, we can work together to get things down into the proper range and just improve your health and quality of life for the long haul. And it's really important for me to help clients with their quality of life.
Final question. Somebody gets that diagnosis, pre-diabetes, and maybe works with you or just is very mindful, does what we talked about in terms of being more active, mindful of what they're eating and that. How fast can you turn that around? And again, everybody's a moving target. Everybody's different. But
Sure.
generally, are we talking, if you get on the right path, it could be you take another lab in 2 months and you're good?
That's a great question. So what I would actually recommend is waiting 3 months, because that way then if you had a hemoglobin A1C lab value at first, you can then wait the 3 months and get new values based on how you're doing with the changes you've made.
Gotcha. All right, wonderful. Yeah, and you did mention, 3 months before. I just picked any number too.
No, you're good. No worries. No, totally fine.
Abby, great information. This is what you do. This is your passion, and you work with people and you meet them where they are. I don't really eat seafood, so this is what I got. What can you do? What can we do together? I'm sure you can whip up a meal plan. That would target the goals. How do we connect with you?
So you can connect multiple ways. One is calling me, and that's 269-369-2347. That also can accept text, or going on my website, which is abnutritionsolutions.com. And then you can reach out to me on there. There's a form that you can just fill out and I'll email you back.
AB stands for Abby Black.
Abby Black, yes.
That's awesome.
Try to make it easy. It's first in the alphabet, all of that.
Well, I didn't even think of that. But you take pride in everything you do and your name is on it. And you've got a great reputation. Thank you for today. All the insight, all the information. I really appreciate it. And looking forward next time we get together.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.